Gosens Beach is working to save the white-crowned pigeon population. At one point, the birds behind me in this cage were spotted in large numbers in the Cayman Islands, but soon the species began to die off.
In Cayman, the populations were fairly stable until Hurricane Ivan. So after Hurricane Ivan, a lot of pigeons died, plus people continued to hunt them with the reduced numbers. So they're under a lot of pressure. In fact, as far as I know, the Department of Environment has recommended, under the new National Conservation Law proposal, that these birds be taken off the game bird list and made protected. So we decided, for our contribution, we have these birds already breeding in the aviary. We were going to start transitioning them and releasing them. We do want to start breeding and releasing local species. The ones we started with first is the white-crowned pigeon, what people call the bald-pates. And the reason we chose that is because, one, within the region where it's found in the Caribbean, which is the Greater Antilles, it's a species that's under threat.
Well, what's special with this bird is, first of all, that they're doing poorly in the wild. So that's why we chose them. So we haven't let take any birds and just release them out through the door. So it has to be a purpose. And these birds are a game bird here in Cayman Islands. And they're very skittish. So they're very, very nervous for humans, which is actually perfect, because that will give them a greater chance to survive in the wild. They are captive bred and they come from a free flight aviary. And they're doing really well in there. The problem, though, is that the reason why the birds are doing so poorly in the wild is because habitat destruction. What we have to come up with is a way to work together with land development and all that, because if we do it smartly, it doesn't have to be such a big problem as it is now. So this is also a way to this is like an educational tool to make people aware.
We checked the literature, we checked with our consultants, and nobody else anywhere has ever done it with this particular pigeon. And you might think breeding pigeons is easy, but this is not a domestic pigeon. This is a wild bird. They're very high-strung. They're a prey species, so they're very agitated. They're really hard to maintain in a captive environment because they're so shy. They can actually injure themselves trying to escape from you. So we had to figure out how to get them to breed, release them out of disturbance, how to put them together and get them to change from a commercial diet, basically eating pellets, to their wild diet, which is small fruits and berries, to recognize these things, because they've never seen these things inside the aviary. So these are, and plus we do the health checks and everything to make sure we're releasing healthy birds into the environment.
These birds, for example, we actually take them out in the beginning of April, so they've been here for a long time. And now we're waiting for the food in the wild to actually ripen. They like thatch berries, the red birch berries, wild strawberries, then also the sea grapes that compete with the humans. And it's also important when we do this food transition that we don't only give the berries. We have to give like the whole branch and with the leaves so they can do the food recognition. So not only they see the berries they're going to eat, they have to know the plant, where to land and everything. Just give them a little bit extra edge so they can survive. Normally this is a feeding ground around here. There's a lot of food around. But then the nesting ground is actually in the mangroves, and normally they fly there. But it's good for release that they can find the food, and then when they meet the wild birds, they can go and find the nesting ground. So it's actually an excellent location for it. And this is a soft release. So basically what we're going to do, we're just going to open the doors. So if they don't want to leave, they don't have to. And then they just go the separate ways.
The last time we released them, we color banded the birds. And the reason we color banded them is because they're usually far away, and you have to look at them through binoculars, and the only way to recognize them is to put color codes. So you have like red on one leg, blue on the other leg, or red and white and so on. And you look at the color bands and we can tell which bird it is, how old it is and so on. And when we released them last year, September, the birds came back. Right? They released, they flew off into the wild. We couldn't find them anywhere. We had no idea if they survived or not. But earlier this year, in January, some of the birds came back. They came back around the aviary because they were familiar with the area, maybe looking for food, maybe they were homesick, I don't know. But they came back and we saw that they were alive, they were healthy, they were well plump and everything. We couldn't catch them, but we knew that the program was working.
Food supplies will be left on top of the cage for about a week. Then the birds must fend for themselves in the wild. Each is tagged with 2 bands like these. So if you spot any, make sure you report the sighting to Gosens Beach.